and family. Welcome again to the Book What Library. It's me, Auntie Kenny, and today we are going to be reading a story about bravery. It's Otis and the Kitten, and it's written by Loren Long. Otis and the Kitten is about a tractor that saved the day, friend saving friend. When there was fire on their farm, Otis sprung to action and saved his friends. Let's read to find out about their adventure. Otis and the Kittens by Loren Long. It was hot and dry on the farm where the friendly little tractor named Otis lived. Otis couldn't remember the last time it had rained. Farmers all over the valley grew more anxious by the day. Water was in short supply, the ground was hard, and the cornstalks were half as tall as they should have been. Otis spent his afternoons out in the southern fields with the farm hands boiling straws. Once the load was full, with a puff and a shove, Otis would pull the wagon into the old barn down by the bend at the mud creek. The farm hands would use a pulley to lift each bale up into the loft, where it would be stored for the long winter to come. When the sun had gone over the hill and work was done, Otis was ready to sit in the shade and rest. But not Otis' friend, the bull. The bull liked to stand in front of Otis and snort and snore and off hot hair. Two snort, a snore, and a huff. All the animals knew what that meant. The bull was challenging Otis to a tug of war. Otis smiled. His friends were always eager to play, even after a long day of work. One dog wound the end of a rope around the bull's horn. Another dog looped the other end around Otis' steering wheel. The animals then took sides, grabbing on any way they could. Everyone pulled and tugged with all of their might. Eventually, Otis would ease up a little. He didn't care much about winning. He just liked having fun with his friends. One afternoon, when everyone was under the shade of the apple tree, Otis spotted something moving down in the field. It looked to be an orange tabby cat. Where did she come from? Otis wondered. He watched as she ran towards the old barn, and there he saw something that caused his engine to sputter. A swirl of smoke. Otis raced to the barn with the animals following behind. They discovered the flames coming from the loft inside the old barn. A fire! The barn was filled with brittle, dry straw, and Otis knew it wouldn't take long for it all to burst into flames. Just then, the tabby cat appeared in the barn window. With a puff puff, potty shove, Otis rushed into the burning barn. Inside, the flames were growing and smoke was forming a dark cloud. The cat was pacing back and forth, high above on a rafter. Otis shoved for her to jump down, but the cat wouldn't budge. Instead, she stared down at Otis and belted out the loudest meow Otis had ever heard. What was she trying to tell him? Suddenly, Otis heard a tiny meow from the high loft, and then another tiny meow, and another, and another, and another, and another. At once, five furry little heads popped up and stared down at him. Kittens! As flame blazed overhead, Otis stood on hind wheels and stretched to the edge of the loft to a chorus of tiny mews. One by one, the kitten hopped down. The farm animals cheered as Otis emerged from the burning barn with kittens all over him. But as soon as Mama Cat counted their little heads, she mewed frantically back at the barn. This time, Otis had no doubt what she was saying. How many more were still in there? He wondered. By then, the top of the barn was engulfed in flames, sending large plumes of smoke into the sky. Otis was afraid, but he gunned his engine, screeched his tires, and dashed into the burning barn. Inside, the heat was growing worse and it was hard to breathe. Otis revved its engine, and one last little head popped up. Trembling from fear, Otis puffed a gentle shove, and the kitten climbed down on top of him, up to his seat, leaped to the floor, and scampered out of the barn to safety. Outside, the animals cheered when they saw another kitten emerge, and they watched for Otis to follow. Inside, the flame spread by the second. Otis wheeled around to see if any more kittens were left. The whole birds of the barn's floor creaked, buckled, and moaned. The wall popped. He couldn't wait another second. Just as Otis spotted the exit and raised his wheels to leave, there was a giant crash. The floor collapsed, and Otis plunged to the darkness below. Outside, the animals held their breath, waiting for their friends to emerge. Inside, Otis couldn't move. He had fallen into the cluttered lower level of the old barn, and he was covered in dust, debris, and broken planks. Stuck in the hole with the fire raging above, Otis could hardly puff a breath. Then he heard the siren of the fire chief Douglas and the fire engine. The farmer pulled up and Otis held him rounding up the animals. Help has arrived. He knew it would be fine until he heard the fire chief Douglas holler. Sorry, farmer, the creek's gone dry in the drought, and the water supply is too low to save this old barn. As long as everyone is safe, we have to let it burn. Underneath a pile of broken bird and dust, Otis couldn't see a thing or move a gasket, and his heart sank deep inside his engine. The animals had grown wild with fear. The farmer counted them one by one. They were all safe and sound. He couldn't figure out why they were acting so crazy. Suddenly, the little calf bolted for the barn door. Our friends followed right behind. Inside the fairy barn, they spotted Otis stuck down in the hole, covered in birds and dust. His engine was barely running. How could they ever get him out? The bull looked up at the rafter and down at Otis. He stood in front of the hole in the floor and snorted and snored and off hot air. Two snort, a snore, and a huff. The animals knew what just that meant. One dog grabbed the pulley rope and wound it around the bull's arm. Another dog flew into the hole and hooked it to Otis' steering wheel. The bull snorted and tugged and snorted and pulled, but Otis didn't budge. The horse and the cow grabbed the rope behind the bull, and together they snorted and tugged and neighed and pulled, and Otis tittered ever so slightly. The little calf jumped in and tugged and bawled and pulled, and Otis raced a bit more. The puppy grabbed the rope behind the little calf and with a fierce "Arr!" tugged and pulled and growled as Otis inched upward. And then came a piercing meow and the sound of the chief Douglas shouting, "Holy moly! Otis is in there! Hold on tight, everyone! I'm here to help!" The fire chief Douglas grabbed the end of the rope and tugged, and pulled, and tugged. All together, the animals and the fire chief Douglas lifted Otis higher and higher until he was suspended above the hole. The duck swooped in and pushed him over the edge of the opening to where they could lower him to the floor. Together, everyone pulled the dust and ash-covered tractor out from the burning fire just as part of the band began to fall. The fire chief Douglas and his men hosed off Otis and wiped down his frame. The cool water revived Otis, and everyone cheered when they heard a faint puff, puff, positive chuff. It was music to their ears. The kittens jumped up on top of Otis and crawled all over him. Fire Chief Douglas laughed and said, "Farmers, what say we adopt these kittens and their mama? They do make a mighty fine addition to our firehouse family." Otis puffed a happy chuff. He couldn't think of a better home for his new friends. The end. Oh, I love Otis and the kittens. And I hope you enjoyed the story too. But before we go, let me ask you, do you remember how the animals work together to save each other? How they work together to save one another from the fire? Yeah, it's friend saving friend. And also, have you helped someone before? Okay, so you should try something to help mom in the kitchen, try to help daddy. Just make sure you find somebody to help. Remember to drop us a like and tell daddy and mommy to subscribe to our channel. That way, when we post a story, you don't miss out. And we can't wait again to see you here tomorrow for another great story time at Book What Library. Bye.